Ooh, a whole minute late. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by Jim, Donnan, and Dayne Young. I'm here at Classic City Eats in Watkinsville, Highway 15, I think. We're just south of Watkinsville. Basically, if you're going up the Greensboro Highway, swing by Classic City Eats. The place is packed. The food is fantastic. The beer is cold. The music is loud. It is a great place to come get a bite to eat. So when you're in Watkinsville, or hell, if you're in Athens, just drive on over and check them out. Big shout out to everybody who's tuning in with us. We appreciate that. It means a lot to us that you would jump on with us and send in your questions and hear what Coach Donnan has to say. I know that's why everybody's here. We thank Coach for his making a heroic effort to join us today. We really appreciate him doing that. Coach, I want to get right to the number one question that we've got all over the place. People have been bringing this up. This is our first show since Arch Manning kind of out of the blue decided to go to Texas, and kind of want to get your thoughts on it. I mean, you're a quarterback guy. You've coached quarterbacks. You've played it. How big is this for Georgia? What happens now? What does Georgia do now?
Yeah, first of all, I want to apologize for can't get internet there in my house for some reason, so I'm outside here in the car. But basically, I think it's just a deal where the kid went with his heart. You know, I mean, regardless of how you look at it, he's never said much except he committed to Texas, so we don't really know. But, you know, everybody makes a decision that's different than what people think it should be, you know, all these pundits and everything, and it looked like everything laid out really good for Georgia, but I don't know what the final word was. From my standpoint, it looked like, you know, he's just taking a situation and going with the quarterback guru who's really had some really good quarterbacks over the years, Matt Leinart and, you know, Tua and people like that. And then he had Matt Jones. So I just don't know. I can really say a lot of different things, but I really am not an authority on why he did that. But the other thing that I am an authority on is that once somebody goes somewhere, you can't just sit around and cry in your Gatorade or Powerade like we use with Coca-Cola products. But
he's still the coach. He's still got all the sponsorships.
You still got to, you know, Powerade really used to get mad if somebody over here said something about Gatorade. And, you know, those Florida had that new coach down there, and they had a team meeting, and it said that we've got 12 new cases of COVID, and then one kid said, "I sure am glad. I was getting tired of that Gatorade." So, anyhow, that was Billy Napier. But anyhow,
you set that one up. I love it.
So anyhow, here we go. But seriously, about our situation, I think is good, and I heard Nick Saban say something about a month ago, which I think is really pretty strong, is about the transfer portal. Just going to see more and more good programs, particularly the great programs, just have their pickings on if they lose a couple guys to graduation or lose a couple guys to injuries or have somebody go out early in the draft. They'll just look around the country and some of these non-power teams or maybe Power 5 teams and say, look, got a chance to come play on a championship level team and start right away and really get some good NIL. So the other schools around the country, you look at Houston Baptist last year, 2 years ago, had a good quarterback, and he transferred to Western Kentucky and threw 59 touchdown passes, and all of a sudden he gets drafted in the pros. You're going to see us look at a transfer quarterback. I think it just makes sense. Just for depth or whatever it might be after this next season. Certainly we're going to have a good room there with – that seems to be the word nowadays, the room.
Room, yes.
It's not the
Hey, Coach, it's also at the end of the day. Everyone says at the end of the day and room. That's the two phrases I hear nonstop.
Well, at the end of the day, we have a good quarterback room. At the beginning of the day, we got a good quarterback room. So it's going to be, people are projecting one of these guys might leave, but the other one is, between Beck and Vandegrift, and then got Gunnar Stockton coming up. But I'm just more excited today about talking about what my ideas are about our team and thinking about the guys that have improved the most and just see what's going on. But, Arch Manning, still 6 months to go. He can watch Texas get the dog shit beat out of him this year and see if he still wants to go there is all I can say.
Coach, I know with Stetson Bennett in particular, you've told me on air, off air, I've heard it multiple times. You said that guy could play quarterback for me on any team that I've ever coached. Do you view the quarterback room, the guys under him? What are you seeing from them? And then I guess as a coach, like how far do you project ahead to this stuff?
Yeah, I can't say that about these other guys yet because they haven't done it when the band's playing. But Stetson's got a national championship ring, which a lot of quarterbacks will never have. So, but I do feel like both Beck and Vandegrift have made quantum leaps here under this system, and they really know what to do, and they're very confident. And Gunnar Stockton didn't get a lot of work in the spring, but he got some good meeting time. We'll just have to. I need to see him more against the defense, but you go get. And again, this is something that I wouldn't think Kirby would like for me to say, but I feel like we're going to be in control of most of these games, and you're going to see a lot of second and third team guys playing in the second half. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen as much as maybe as in the past, but it's going to happen because right now, looking at this Vegas lines, we're double-digit favorite over everybody we're playing going into the season, but that could change. And I've said this on this show before. When you think you're going to really kill somebody and you're thinking about playing everybody, that's when things don't turn out like you hope they would, and before you know it, it's a tough battle. So I'm okay with who we got.
Let me read a couple comments from YouTube real fast, Roddy. This is from Billy Wright. It says, hey, guys, I watch everything you put on. Love what you do. God bless and go Dogs. Thanks for watching, Billy. And James Wilkerson says, I'm not worried about Arch as long as Kirby is the coach.
Well, James has a good point there because, and I think Coach bringing up the transfer portal is important. I noted on Twitter right after it happened because here's the insider information we were given that, Arch just basically woke up and said, hey, I'm going to Texas. Called Kirby, told him that he was going to announce it. Everybody was caught off guard. Texas didn't know it was coming. Georgia didn't know it was coming. It was a surprise. So be it. But you notice that, as Coach says, there's 6 months until signing day. You still recruit him. And if you don't burn any bridges, because what if he's in the portal in 2 years or something like that? Or other guys that you've recruited or, hit the portal. Some of your guys may hit the portal. So it's never over. It never ends. It used to be, okay, well, it'll end on signing day. Well, it doesn't end on signing day now, not with the transfer portal out there. So that's still a possibility. And again, not saying that you hang your hat on that, but just you've seen Kirby be able to pull some names out of the transfer portal of guys that he had recruited previously who for some reason or other didn't like where they were, and he's been able to bring in some big talent who are at good schools, and they decided to come play at Georgia. Georgia's made a killing off the transfer portal. So never say never, but I'm not really worried about it.
They haven't at quarterback, though, Roddy. Now, I think that's out of necessity. They haven't had to. But if you're looking at transfer quarterbacks, you're looking at Jamie Newman, and we know how that turned out. Could that have been great? We'll never know. And then, early in the portal, I guess it wasn't even called the portal, but the transfer days, Grayson Lambert, pretty average. Solid player, but pretty average.
You also got JT Daniels. The point is you brought in 3 talented quarterbacks. You're right. You've lost a few. But he's also got 2 5-star freshman quarterbacks in that room. As Coach likes to point out, the room. So with Gunnar Stockton, 5-star, Brock Vandegrift, redshirt freshman. So you've got Carson Beck, 4-star. You got Stetson Bennett, a national championship winning QB. It's a good group, And if you lose some of those guys, again, people say, well, I think people took too much of, you went all in on Arch. You didn't get him. It happens. But he's been able to pull tons of other quarterbacks to UGA, so I don't think he has a hard time recruiting quarterbacks. I think, the kid woke up and decided he wanted to go elsewhere. And I'm not going to read any more into it than that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think it opens the door for Raiola. I think really does. He really liked Georgia. He was worried about Arch. I can understand that. And, he committed to Ohio State, but he's got another year. And we really did a lot of good work on him. I felt like we were in there and that kid, both he and Manning both impressed me extremely. It was very impressive when they worked out. So it's just so many good quarterbacks out there. I mean, just like the kid from Baylor that came in here last week. I mean, there's kids out there that can play, and they want to play in a winning program and have a chance to go get prepared to go to the league. Everybody's looking at these kids are a lot more advanced at an early age than it used to be. So I just think our fans and our site and everything that we have just need to chill and understand that until Kirby does something that shows that he's not really thinking like he needs to, I think we just need to go with the man, go with the plan and see what happens. And I think you made a good point there too about we were all in on Arch. I mean, so if you can't get him, then don't worry about it. Let's go and play this year and then go from here on. That's what we'll do.
There are a ton of 2024 quarterbacks who are really good, and Georgia's at the top of the list for a bunch of them. So if you don't get Arch in 2023 or you don't hit the transfer portal, I won't say you have your pick, but the 2024 class is loaded. And you talk to those kids, you mentioned Raiola, that they love Georgia. So, and it caught some of those guys by surprise. And, Todd Monken, to his credit, has been in touch with them. So he's let him know that he's got a spot open. So
I think it's safe to say that Arch Manning doesn't end up at Texas if Texas is not on its way to the SEC. And so with that being the case, Texas going to the SEC, that's a huge commitment from that program of saying we want to be the best of the best.
True.
Hey, Coach, I know you want to talk a little bit about the team, and I got some other questions for you. Big shout out to Adam, by the way, who ran into me at Publix and said he watches every week. So shout out to Adam for doing that. He said,
what aisle was it?
He was getting the public sub. See, Adam's a smart guy. He watches this show and knows where to get the best sandwich in town. So shout out to Adam for watching the show. But he said some nice things about Coach. I won't repeat them. I don't want Coach to get a big head. Coach, I noticed right before we came on the air, the ACC basically they said they're getting rid of their divisions. Dayne mentions Texas coming to the SEC. How likely do you think we're going to see a divisionless SEC?
Yeah, I just can't see us, doing anything like the ACC does unless it's basketball. Who knows? Who knows what the situation?
I'm just curious what you were hearing.
I mean, I hadn't read that yet. I mean, like I told you, I was playing tennis this morning, so I really think we're just gonna we're waiting to see SEC wise when those two teams get cleared by the Big 12, their financial obligation. And then once they're in the league, then we know where they're coming, then you're going to probably go to a 9-game schedule, and who knows how that's going to be. But what we're going to do is try to project as many teams as we can for an 8-team playoff. I think we're going to see at least an 8-team playoff down the road.
Agreed.
So whatever projects that the best will be the way. If it means no division, so what? But you always try to control the rivals that you have and, all the predetermined stuff. But once you go to these big power conferences, I mean, a lot of things change. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, you can't, like when Nebraska left and Oklahoma couldn't play Nebraska anymore. A lot of people didn't like it, but hey, that's just the way it was. Nebraska went to the Big Ten, and that was it. Arkansas went to the SEC. Missouri went to the SEC. Texas A&M went to the SEC. You lose those rivalries.
Here's a comment from Facebook from Denise in Statesboro. She says, Coach is spot on that Georgia's going to be fine. We don't need to go into the portal and don't need another quarterback. Concentrate on finishing the 2023 recruitment class and finish strong. And then she says, Arch is one player, takes an offense and defense to win games.
Good point. That lady's smart. I mean, she's a football junkie. She knows all about it. Although I would say we might go into the portal after the season. For a guy, we might get one for next year. We're not going to get one for now.
Coach, how many quarterbacks do you want on your roster? Like, I mean, I know you have like walk-ons on scout team and stuff like that, but do you prefer 4 scholarship quarterbacks?
Sure, you never know what's going to happen injury-wise, everything. At least 4, and then you got to have a couple arms there to help you with the drills and all. We got some really good guys that come out there and just want to be on the team and throw balls for different drills and all. When you look at all the different teams, the phases of practice, then you got to have balls in the air, running backs catching passes, wide receivers catching passes, DBs, corners, safeties, linebackers. They do a lot of ball drills. Some of these coaches are really good coaches, but they got really bad arms. I'm talking about, I've seen some guys out there in the history of my coaching career that I promise you, I'd be embarrassed for them to throw the ball.
Why are you talking about Mike Bobo like that?
Do not blaspheme Mike Bobo, Coach.
Mike
Come
Bobo
on.
can throw. I'm talking about some of these guys that, I mean, really pitiful. I mean, just scary bad. And the other thing I want to
coaches working the secondary guys. Yep.
Yeah, you got to throw the ball with some velocity because the quarterback's throwing it to you like that. I mean, when the interception. But 2 things that I want to make sure that I don't forget, and I forgot last week, and I want to bring up the first part, and then later we'll bring up the second, is Georgia's one of 7 or 8 teams in the country to get an NFL grant from the NFL to work on concussions through the mouthpiece that they've instituted now. They got about a $200,000 grant that Ron Corson's going to have 40 mouthpieces with these that you can put into your GPS system that all our fans know about, that the players are monitored during practice, the speed they're running and all that. But now it's going to monitor the hits that they have through their helmets. And if they can see right away if they have a chance to have a concussion, or if look at how the kids responded to the concussion through the mouthpiece. All of us have seen the NFL have so many of these suits where players are bringing suit against them 15, 20 years after they played about some of their lifetime injuries they've had through helmets and concussions. So the NFL is trying to do a good job of checking out, because most of their players don't wear mouthpieces. So they got these college players checking it out. And it's really good that we're one of the teams, and Ron Corson's all over it. So our first 30, 40 players will have those. They wear them in practice, and just another way to monitor concussions, which are such a big part of college, high school, pro football, and we're on the cutting edge of it. So very impressive that we're one of those schools.
That is fascinating. So they basically have an impact sensor and a GPS sensor type thing in the mouthpiece. So if a kid's going 17 miles an hour and then stops because he gets hit, they can kind of gauge and then see how fast he ran after that, see if he's off kilter or something like that. That's fascinating. I love it.
Yeah, and you can look back on if he did have a concussion after practice and nobody knew about it, then you could go back and check the data and see exactly when it occurred and how he reacted since then. And one of the things that, I was over there the other day, some of these young freshmen just starting out, they have these, they take these tests and they monitor their level of brain waves. And then if they have a concussion, then they compare that to their normal brain waves, and they can see what it's going to take for them to get back to being normal before they let them go out on the field. So just another way to protect the health and safety. And I know that Kirby mentioned that he was at Indianapolis in April with the rules committee, and they spent an inordinate amount of time on that and talking about the targeting rule, about applying that you could appeal for a targeting rule to the national guy, which we talked about last week. But safety is a big part of college football. I mean, we love the game. Everybody, this is why we got the show. We're talking about college football, but as parents, as fans, we worry about the health and safety of our players. And let's face it, it's a high collision contact game now, faster and harder hitting than ever. And you got to find ways to protect them.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I wanted to say, which I was going to forget and talk about later in the show, is our players' schedule. Is our players after Wednesday are going to take off a week not necessarily take off. They'll have them doing some workouts on their own, but the coaches are off for a few weeks here, and the players have a little time off for July the 4th. So they're going to have, this will be the last time they're actually off before the national championship game next year, really, basically. So they're going to have a week to go wherever they want to, and then come back and start the summer classes and do whatever they got to do or finish up. So we'll have a show next week, but our players are going to be gone here after Wednesday. So I'm sure Roddy already knew that, though.
Yeah, I absolutely knew that.
Campus is a weird place during summer. People know I work at Grady College at UGA. Like I was walking from 5 Points to the college yesterday, and I had to take about 3 different routes because there's so much construction happening on campus. So many things are being renovated. And I bet you all of it's going to be done by August 1. So that way when students come back, it's full on, and you know it's going to look good when people crowd that stadium for the first home game after winning a national championship.
Awesome. Well, I didn't know that the players were going to be off, but that's why we have Coach on the show, and I didn't know that they were going to have mouthpieces with GPS sensors in them. Again, why we have Coach on the show. The reason I'm here is to push some of our sponsors and to talk about some of the folks that actually share our content out there. So I appreciate all the folks that share it and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me when you do that. But I want to mention 2 of our sponsors real quick. One of them is Athens Ford. They have been a fantastic sponsor of not only this show, but our watch-along show. So we're still going to do the watch-alongs in the fall, when Georgia takes on Samford. We have a story about that today. When they take on Oregon, we take on Auburn, take on Tennessee, all that stuff. You'll hear us hopefully talking about Athens Ford. So when you get a chance, support the folks that support us. If you like this show, then please hit up our sponsors. It means a lot to us. And let them know that you heard about them on our show. Athens Ford will take care of you. So if you're taking care of us by going to see them, they're going to take fantastic care of you. And that's one of the main reasons we have them. It's not only because they support us, it's because I know the folks out there and they're damn good. They take care of me. They don't do it because they sponsor a show. Hell, the guys in the service department, when I went in and said, hey, I needed something taken care of, they jumped on in a heartbeat and didn't even know who I was, which is great. So point being, they take care of everybody and they take care of us. So please, when you get a chance, if you need a new vehicle, pre-owned vehicle, swing by Athens Ford. They will take care of it for you. Also want to mention one of our longest sponsors has been going on back before before we had a YouTube channel or anything like that, is our friends at YourPie. It's Tuesday. Hit up YourPie. It's Double Points Tuesday. If you use the app, you'll get double the amount of points that you normally get, which gets you free pizza, free salad, free breadsticks. You can get that peach or prosciutto pie they have out there. It's phenomenal. Drew and Natalie French have been supporting UGASports forever. I mean, hell, I met him when Georgia was going out to play Arizona State. We sat in the back of a plane. We had a few drinks. That plane ran out of liquor. We would have had more, but, they didn't have any left. So point being, known Drew for a long time, and then he has been a huge Georgia fan his whole life, and he is a big supporter of the Bulldogs, and he takes care of us. So please, if you need a pizza or need a great salad or you want a great sandwich, hit up our friends at YourPie.
YourPie is just amazing. That pizza prosciutto, I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, I'm going to show y'all what I'm having out here today.
You're showing more food?
Classic City Eats. We've got the fantastic sausage, pickle, jalapeno, and cheese plate. And then, of course, I have the chicken sandwich. It's the pulled chicken sandwich with the hot sauce and the cheese. It's phenomenal. So, y'all don't get any because y'all aren't here. It's too bad. And you just leave that on you can leave that on the screen. Just let people just let the saliva drip down their face while they watch the show. It's prettier than seeing me anyway.
We'll get into a couple questions from UGASports.com. Coach, do want to give you a shout out though, because when your internet was messing up at your house and you find a way to do it, that's pretty svelte of you, I guess. Like you're still a coach. When something doesn't work, you find another way to do it.
Well, just a backup plan. I don't like it. It's too dang hot in this car. But and when I cut the car on, the internet in the car came on, so it knocked off this, so I can't do that. So, hey, I'm okay. I'm just glad to be with you. So let's go. What's the next? I'm terrible on the on stuff like that, though. People don't know. I got to get Dayne and Radi over all the time to help me, but I don't mind admitting I'm just pitiful.
Well, I disagree with that statement, but whatever. That's okay. Blocker57 from UGASports.com, who's one of our favorites over on the DawgVent, says, Coach, do you have any stories dealing with, quote, helicopter parents that you could discuss? How does Kirby Smart handle those today? So,
great question.
Over-involved parents in recruiting or coaching.
We don't even have enough time for that. It's really, I mean, I could go chronological order, starting back to NC State all the way through North Carolina, Florida State, Kansas State, Missouri. Every place I ever coached, you had those people that just overboard. And all you can do is just tell them that, look, you can't. I know we had, I mean, I hate to talk. I mean, Hapines won't mind me talking about it. His dad was not a helicopter pilot. He was a great guy. He's a judge and just loved his son. And first day of practice, we were kicking, and Judge Hines was out there standing there right beside Hap, watching him, helping him, and everything. I said, "Hey, Judge, you know, I'm not going to come into your court, man. You can't come out here like this." So it was pretty funny. But he just thought it was okay just to walk out there and coach him up. But you got to. You know, some of the worst calls I ever got, though, were on the travel squad when it was pretty obvious that a guy was not going to be on your travel. You know, you couldn't take with so many people. I mean, even they're on scholarship, and these kids get their hopes up and tell their parents they're going and everything, but realistically they're not. And then they call you on Thursday night and just rip you, man. I mean, just go how much you breaking the mother's heart and the father's heart because they were planning on going to the game. They weren't even talking about the son going on the trip. They were just worried about themselves. So I said, hey, you can come to the game. They're just not going to play. So
have you ever experienced something like the opposite? So, like, my favorite athlete growing up was Chipper Jones, and it was pretty legendary with him in baseball that even though he had hitting coaches with the Braves, when he got into a slump, he called his dad, and his dad.
Oh, yeah, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying you just can't go out and coach him on the field in front of everybody. I mean, you know, but I mean, I think it's important to have a good dialogue with the parents, and you know, we had a rule every place I've ever been that on Thursday you met with every player on your team for 10 minutes about academic, your position group, academics, and also the football wise, because, you know, say a guy's getting redshirted, he's not going to the meetings with the regular players and the coach doesn't see him. But if you set up 10 minutes a week, then you're going to say, hey, look, this is what I've heard about your weight training. You need to do this better about going to class, blah, blah, blah. But you keep that contact. And then you keep contact with the parents, you know, have an open door policy. I always said, I like you to call the position coach first. And then if that doesn't work, call me. But, hey, you entrusted yourself to be the coach and they entrusted their son to you. There's nothing wrong with talking about it. But it comes to be a point where you got to take a reality pill too.
We see a lot of that in recruiting sometimes too. You know, we're dealing with the kids and the parents, and you get a call from the parent about, you know, why haven't you written about my son this month? I'm like, well, he's a 2025 kid. He's got 3 more years of high school to go. He doesn't have any offers yet. It's like, give me a minute. we mentioned him once already because he did well at a camp, you know, and it's just, but then, hey, I'm glad the parents are involved because the apathy the other way, you know, you talk to a kid and he doesn't have any strong role models in the house, you know, or anybody helping him get to class or anybody helping him get to practice. And we've just seen some kids just absolutely miss out because they didn't have the grades or didn't have the support network when they were an absolutely great football player and had a real future, but just wasn't there. So it can be a double-edged sword. So
there's some really cool team parents around Georgia's team right now.
Oh, man, absolutely.
Keely Ringo's mom does so much that goes unrecognized in terms of just like poor players, but also just like fellow fans. Like she fully bought into the experience of Keely being here and being part of this culture. That's been really cool to see.
I want Oscar Delp's mom on the recruiting staff. I really do.
Yeah, she's out there working it.
She is.
She was over here for her other son was here at camp. I guess she's got 2 other sons there, but she was over there watching him work out. And so what do we got next there, Dayne?
Yeah, from PA Dog says, Coach, if you were the current offensive coordinator for UGA, what offensive personnel set would you run the most and why?
Wishbone.
With all those tight ends?
No, I just had to say that. I mean, I never ran the wishbone after I left Oklahoma, except on short yardage, and it was good. But I think what we're doing is good. We're very effective. We're able to utilize whatever personnel we want to put in. We got a lot of good wide receivers, tight ends, backs, and the flexibility is really enormous that you can put different packages together. And what I always like, and LSU did a good job, was when they won the national championship, is trying to not substitute so the defense can't substitute and run as many formations as you can to put pressure on them with the people that are in the game. So if we have two tight ends in the games, run some formations that aren't necessarily tight end oriented, split one of them out. If you got two backs in the game, let a guy split out like Cook did last year. I mean, these are tough situations on the defensive coaches because they want to sub based on your personnel, thinking you're going to run the formations that are the ones used with that grouping. So I think Monken does a good job with that. For instance, in the Michigan game, he ran a funky play where Bowers was lined up as a tackle, but he was actually eligible because the wide receiver on that side was off the ball. So he was the nearest guy on the line of scrimmage, and he went in the flat for an easy touchdown. And you can do stuff like that when you got that flexibility. I think Bowers, more than anybody, gives you the flexibility to do so much. And then, of course, Gilbert coming up will do the same. The same's true with these different backs. Kenny McIntosh is really good coming out of the backfield, and he can do a lot of things that Cook did. So the answer would be buffet, man. We're going to buffet it. We're going to run a lot of everything.
Coach, I want to nerd out a little bit for a second with you because I've never asked you this, but I've always been curious your answer. So
28 is this a general manager question or what?
In a sense, 2018 Joe Burrow is an above average quarterback. He had an okay season, nothing special. 2019, he comes and has one of the greatest seasons in the history of the sport. And obviously his career has been fantastic since then. How does that happen? Because it seemed close to unprecedented.
I think number one, system change. They brought in the guy from New Orleans Saints that really came in and gave them a lot of new stuff, particularly the RPOs that they instituted. And then personnel-wise, they really enhanced their roster offensive line. I mean, you saw how many guys were drafted off that team. So, plus the defense was a lot better too. So I was always impressed with Burrow, even as a junior, the way he was so competitive. And I kind of took a liking to him because I knew his dad when he was a Nebraska coach when I was in Oklahoma. So, but I think influx of new talent, development of the talent on the team, and then the change in system really helped them.
Good stuff.
Coach knows someone from everywhere. Have you noticed it? Like, if anyone's played football before, Coach is like, yeah, when I was at Kansas State, their uncle was around.
No, that's not true.
Take them to dinner one time and see how many people stop by the table.
I just drop that when I can. You guys, that's not right. I don't know near many people as Roddy.
You know everybody.
Roddy knows everybody everywhere in the news media, but you do build up some relationships when you coach, and today's a kind of a sad day for all of us too, because Mickey Matthews' son Clayton, who passed away last week, they're having a memorial service for him down in Myrtle Beach. But I told Mickey, send him a couple texts after I talked to him. Clayton was a very good athlete. They won a state championship at Oconee High School as a senior in high school, and just unbelievable. And I will never forget the day he was admitted to Shepherd Spine when he had his neck broken. He'd been up in Virginia for a couple of weeks, and they got him into Shepherd, and went over to see him. And I was trying to fight back how I was just going to, get something across to him to pep him up. And I go in there and he said, "Hey, Coach, you think you can get me an insider thing for ESPN?" I said, God, Clayton, you're on top of things, man. You want to start reading the inside stuff for ESPN. And, I'm thinking he's going to be laying there worried about everything, and I'm sure he did. But that just pepped me up to hear Clayton say that. And in his memory, I think all of us should be glad. This guy for 19 years lived with a broken neck and did everything he could to live every day. And that's what all of us got to do. Whatever you got, do the best with what you got.
Amen.
Good words there. No way to transition, but I'm going to do it awkwardly anyway. Conscious Mind on YouTube is talking about Georgia's production at running back, the returning production being a little bit less than what you normally see. That happens when you lose a Zamir White and the James Cook. So how do you kind of retool at running back is the question. And I guess I'm going to come up with the second part of that question. Who's the hammer in a fourth quarter in this running back team? It's been Zamir White. Who's the hammer to lock down a game and be the closer?
Well, first of all, there's good news and bad news when you lose production. It's because you guys are going to the pros, but that's the bad news. The good news is you got some guys that have played and know what to do, and your offensive line, to me, is going to be as good, if not better, than last year with the addition of Ratledge coming back, who was a starter, going to compete for that job. And then you got both tackle starters coming back and your center, the apex of your offensive line, and all those tight ends blocking. So we should have some really good explosive running plays because people are going to be worried about the play action pass and they're not going to be able to support the run like they normally do. I think Branson Robinson, looking at him on the hoof, gives you that kind of power that you're looking for. If he can go on and develop and mature enough to play enough like that, certainly Milton can do it too. But I don't know that we would run quite as much hammer stuff at that point. We can, we can do a lot of finesse stuff and still keep the ball away from. I know Brock Bowers on the jet sweep is about as good a play as you can run with Washington blocking for him. Also, you got McConkey doing the same thing. So those are glorified, look like trick plays, but they're really power football. So I think we'll have all kind of phases of the offense next year. Good goal line offense. You still got Carter to put in there on the goal line to be an extra blocker, big guy that can catch the ball, and it's going to be we're going to be really explosive and really good on offense.
I want to see Carter eligible for a pass on the goal line defense. That's just I'm asking for it.
He's 1 for 1.
I know. I want to see it.
I want to see Marius Mims get redemption from that G-Day a couple of years ago because he didn't give the best effort on that one.
Yeah, he's a dancing bear. That guy's got great feet.
I saw him in, I think, Walmart the other day. Coach, he's slim. He's slim. Look
Really?
like an NFL center. I mean, NBA center. I was like, wow, he's a tall dude. So
Did you ask him how much you weigh?
no, I did not bother him.
Were you afraid to, or what?
Yeah, a little bit.
No, he walked him over to the scale section at Walmart and said, "Will you just hop on that for me real fast?"
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure he was in there with one of Georgia's. I think it was in there with a mentor, and they were doing some shopping. So I didn't want to interrupt him.
Yeah.
But trust me, I don't want Kirby to yell at me. Don't interview my players when they're not available. So I tried to stay on the good side of it.
He's got a girlfriend that's a volleyball player. She might have been with him.
Here's a quick comment from YouTube. Jim Donnan, this is from JC. He says, Jim Donnan is one of my favorite coaches ever at UGA. He did the best with what he had at the time. He said, hell, if he had all the support that Kirby has, he could have done a lot more, in my opinion, at UGA.
Hell, there's not that many coaches at UGA. That's not high praise.
Well, we had we had good support, but certainly it's a little different time frame there as far as, keeping up with the Joneses and keeping up with the Sabans, so to speak, and we've certainly kept up with them and bypassed them in a lot of ways. But I could never say that I didn't lack support here. I had plenty of what we needed. We just started out on scholarship reduction because we had a few problems with probation, but hard to catch up with Florida and Tennessee overnight. But we tried hard. We made some progress.
It was an arms race when you were the head coach. It's a civilization building now.
Yeah, we were just glad to get weight room going there. I mean, our weight room looked like something to the caveman there when we got there. It was bad, but
you had support, but not as much as you could have. I do want to mention some of our friends that actually support our site and support the this podcast as friends at Dead Socks, they will support you too. If you were to buy some new socks from them, they're incredibly comfortable. They stay up. Talk about support. They don't slide down your leg. If you have big fat calves like me, you look for something like that doesn't cut off blood flow to your feet, but also manages to not slide down. And you have to constantly bend over and pick up your socks, pull them up your leg. The true stay technology that our friends at Dead Soxy have created it's fantastic. If you look at the reviews, I mean, they got like 600 reviews, 4.9 stars. So that means somewhere somebody gave them a 4.5 star, but 600 reviews, almost all of them 5 stars. Highly recommend. Phenomenal, best socks ever. Just, I dig it. Great. Go to deadsoxy.com, read the reviews. They can't control that. They're done by chronological order. So as people put in the recommendations, they pop up, and they are just absolutely inundated with folks that love their socks. And there's a reason. I mean, we tried out their socks before we let them become a sponsor of our show. And we believe in them. Anybody that's ever tried them, anybody that I've given a pair to, they rave about them. So you can try them too. Also, if you wanted to have some with your company's logo on it, you can do that. They will. The minimum order is like $120. They're pretty inexpensive. But if you're giving those out, people will that'll become their favorite socks. And every time they put on their favorite socks, they'll see your logo. So kind of smart branding tool there if you got a chance. So hit up our friends at Dead Soxy when you want support, as Coach Donnan was talking about.
Dead Soxy was started by a couple Ole Miss guys, right?
Yes, a couple Ole Miss guys.
They're probably still drunk right now.
Oh, I can't imagine.
That title win.
Hey, and somebody over there created some We Want Arch socks with the Mississippi logo on it. So those are probably collector's items because they didn't do it with Texas logo. So
those get sent off to wherever the losing championship shirts go in
exactly.
some country. Yeah.
I also want to mention we get a lot of support from our friends over at Academia Brewing Company, the best brewery in Athens, which is saying a lot considering there are a lot of great breweries around here. But they always have something new going on right now. They have their sour syllabus up there. So if you like sours, they've got it. They have a huge comedy show coming. They had a huge comedy show, but they keep doing that repeatedly. And so stay tuned for the next show coming up. There's constantly things going on there. You'll notice they've redone some of the outside of the building with these great murals. Today would be a great day to go by and have a few beers at their outdoor beer garden. Last week is too hot. Today the weather's great. Swing by, have a beer or two out there, got some great food. You'll absolutely love it. We'll just get a chance hit the like button on their Facebook page, so that way they show up in your feed. The algorithm will let you know when they got new stuff being introduced. There's always new beer. There's always new food. There's always new shows, new live music. They have tons of stuff going on out there. So check out Academia Brewing Company when you get a chance.
Roddy, this YouTube question probably goes to you. This is from Thomas Dew. Is Daniel Harris going to commit to Georgia for the 2023 recruiting season?
It was Denise that said Georgia needed to focus on the 2023 class. Arch is only one guy. And we had a war room yesterday that we put together for the readers of UGASports.com. Now, a lot of that war room was about a lot of 2024 guys because we had that underclassmen combine in Atlanta that was just absolutely full of the top players. They were going to be rising juniors and rising sophomores. But there was some 2023 nuggets in there, one of which was about Daniel Harris. We said keep an eye on him. We think he's going to commit somewhere soon. And then yesterday evening, he announced that July 1st, he is going to make his announcement. I put in a FutureCast prediction for him to Georgia. I think that's where he's going to go. I don't know this for certain. You can never know any of these for certain. But I do think Daniel Harris, a cornerback, and that's a big get. So if you can get Daniel Harris, I think that's gigantic. There's some other guys that are committed. Georgia had a fantastic June. They had 4 commits in 8 days. July is going to have fireworks too. So keep an eye on Georgia. They're not. Yeah, you missed on Arch, but it's not like he was the only kid they're recruiting. And I know a lot of people, you hate to see a 5-star quarterback like that go somewhere else, but look at what Georgia's getting in the secondary. Look at some of the offensive linemen they're getting. There's some defensive linemen they're committing. So I like Georgia's chances with Daniel Harris. I like their chances with there's the big offensive lineman Smith out of Columbus. There's some really big names that are going to be popping here soon, and that Georgia's right in the thick of it. So Nealon Raper, Matt Godwin, all the Georgia's coaches, that they are on this 2023 recruiting class. So I wouldn't have faith in Kirby, as Coach says.
Yeah, I want to make one report here from the Manning passing camp because I was able to talk to an quote unquote insider that watched all 3 days, and he gave me his unbiased
Scoopy
report,
scoop.
which I feel like is pretty strong. And the guy's a good evaluator. Anyhow, he said that the two best guys, in his opinion, were Levis from Kentucky and Max Johnson from Texas A&M. He said Bryce Young was up and down. He looked good at times, and he said he was pleasantly surprised at the pop that Stetson Bennett had. He had no idea that he could throw like that, and said he held his own, and particularly on the longer balls. And so I was glad to hear that from an unbiased guy there at the Arch at the camp. And it kind of goes in line with some of the stuff we read about, but there wasn't a lot of report about it. I saw one pass where Stetson overthrew a guy, but you never know who you're throwing to down there. They don't have any college.
Coach, he can't overthrow anybody. Remember, he has that pop gun arm. He can't get it down the field.
Well, that's true, but I'm saying they just have high school receivers, no college. They did do a lot of drills and stuff, but it gives you an idea about how you compare to the rest of it. And he said a real sleeper would be the Purdue quarterback. He thought he was a really good player. I don't know the guy's name, but Jeff Brom, the Purdue coach, has always been good when he was at Louisville and at Florida Atlantic, wherever he's been. He's always produced good quarterbacks. So let's keep our eye out for him. But I thought it was good to hear that Stetson was among the better quarterbacks there.
Aiden O'Connell, Purdue's quarterback.
Good. That's what I watch for him.
Roddy, if you have any questions from your outlets, we can get there. I can play. Coach, I kind of want to do our game where I just throw players' names at you and get you a quick 15 seconds. But this time, it's going to be all true freshmen. And so if you can kind of give any indication, if you think how big of a role could they potentially play. And I know as things settle out, that you never know. But
that's not fair, man. I don't even know some of those guys' numbers yet. But
I'll help you out. Let's start with defensive back number 6, Dayne Everett.
Oh, I know Dayne Everett. I thought you were talking about guys that just got here. Dayne Everett, I'm strong on him. I feel like he's going to get a lot of playing time, be big on special teams. He's going to fight for a top 4 position in our defensive backs. So being here like he was in the spring, this guy's going to be a player for Georgia. I mean, he's as close to a can't miss corner as you want down the road. He might not be ready now, but fired up about him. I'll give him whatever kind of best rating we can give.
A fellow North Carolinian that you talk about almost every week, number 11, linebacker Jalen Walker.
Jalen is another guy that I know personally, but also watched him out there. He's gonna be in our 2 deep just because of the lack of depth that we got based on the people that we had graduate. Not that we don't have depth, but I look for him to get out there and really be a significant role, and also be an every down type guy that can play the run and the pass. Be great on special teams. The first 2 you gave me, they're going to be impact freshmen for us.
What about Malachi Starks, number 24?
I think Malachi's got the potential. I mean, he's learning, the safety's a tough position. He got so many calls, and, he played quarterback and safety in high school. He didn't, have but maybe 1 call in high school. He got all these checks. He's got a chance to get some time this year, but down the road, he's got too much athleticism not to be really good for us.
I'll finish with a pair of receivers, number 18, C.J. Smith.
Well, he's got the smoke. I mean, he can really run. He's just got to refine his routes. I think he's going to help us down the road. Probably not a lot this year.
And number 23, wide receiver, Denylon Morissette.
I was really impressed with him all spring. He took advantage of some of the guys not being out there sometime, and I don't know that he'll be able to get in a lot of reps in the fall, but he made you know what he was capable of when he got in there. He's a very adept at running routes. He's quick off the ball. He can separate. He can get away from bump coverage. He's a player.
You start looking at the receivers at Georgia, and there's just a volume of good football players. I mean, it's going to be hard to sneak in and take playing time from some of those other guys.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how Blaylock came back, how Kieras came back, and then we all know about Mitchell and I saw where 81 tweeted out yesterday about this starting his third year. Rosemary Saints, he's another guy who's just steady, really good player. We're good at receiver, and I think having BMAC in here gives you new lease on life for some of those guys. And freshman wise, and that's not even talking about Arian Smith, the human bullet. He'll be a big target for Stetson. It'd be hard to overthrow that guy. I mean, he can smoke it, man.
Hi, Coach. I got a bunch of questions for you. A lot of them were about the whole Arch Manning stuff and quarterbacks. Big Sky said, "How did we miss on Arch Manning?" We think we covered that. Riley says, "Does Georgia take a quarterback in this class?" I think we covered that as well. I did like this question from UGA. He says, "If Georgia makes the playoff, as I expect them to, who else will be there?"
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know how things will play out in the SEC, whether you can get two teams or not. Alabama's preseason number one, so we would have to knock them off, and it's just a question of whether they could, by that, knock them off. The fact that they're preseason number one doesn't mean that I think they are, but it'd be hard to have two SEC teams in there. But I think Ohio State, Clemson are going to be right there. I don't see West Coast team we haven't seen any West Coast team. So, last year we had Michigan in there. I don't think they'll be near as good. So, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, those are the teams I see as the top four.
Oklahoma is usually in the mix.
Oklahoma this year not going to be in the mix. I want them to go on and pray for them. Though. All you people out there tonight, pray for the Sooners. I think they're going to have a hard year.
What about a team like Miami?
You talking about the Dolphins?
Sure. No, I'm just saying, like, when you look, the ACC typically not the hardest
I think they got
league.
too many holes. I mean, certainly they made a monstrous pledge to do a lot of stuff there. All this, $9 million for Cristobal, brought in some big name coaches. They just got to start keeping the players in the Florida area down there. They got that quarterback yesterday from the West Coast, which is a big haul for them. They beat Florida on them. I'd rather them go to Miami than Florida, that's for sure.
Well, I guess my point in this, Coach, is when you say Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, you're totally right. But when you start looking at other teams beyond that, it's almost hard to imagine some teams getting in there, but someone will. There's always a team that sneaks in there, like this year was Michigan, that you don't think is going to wind up there.
True. I mean, it's just too many things out there. I mean, people bragging about A&M. I mean, they lost 4 games last year. I don't know. I don't see
Notre Dame will be in the mix. They always are, and then they'll lose by 40.
Always Notre Dame.
Here's the thing about Notre Dame. This guy Freeman is an excellent recruiter. His first-year head coach. He's going to make some. He always makes some decisions that you look back on that aren't the right ones. I just don't see Notre Dame being in the mix. They could be, but in my opinion, there won't be.
Hi, Coach. Here's a question from Dog in France, our buddy out in France. We appreciate that. We need to find out which part of France Dog in France is at. He says, "Coach, what is Mike Bobo doing for the staff, and could he have the same impact on Georgia that Will Muschamp did?"
Well, at this point, they're trying to decide what he's going to do as far as, position-wise, because we got so many quarterback people helping out there with Buster Faulkner and Van Gorder and, several guys helping Coach Monk and BMAC as the receivers. And then Mike's got an existing relationship. He's an offensive analyst.
Yeah.
I think it'll be hard to have the impact Will did because Will got on the field right away.
Right.
I don't see Mike getting on the field this year like Will did, and that had a big impact. He was able to take over the safety position, and he's also able to implement the special teams knowledge that he had too as a full-time coach and get right on the road recruiting, big in the recruitment of Singletary and Humphreys, Malachi Starks. I mean, he was on all those guys. And it's a lot easier to recruit somebody if you can go in their home and visit them as compared to just talking to them on official visit and then calling them. And I know Buster Faulkner would have liked to have done more of that, but he's not one of the 10. He was able to do that last year when Coach Lanning left. Kirby smartly, his name is Coach Smart, but I said smartly as an adverb, put him on the road to take Lanning's place, and he spent a lot of time down there with Arch and built a good relationship when you could visit with him. So, but I don't see. I mean, Mike will make a big imprint, and he'll be good to throw things over against the wall and say, "Hey, look, this is what do you think of this?" And he'll look at it and all, but it'd be hard to have the imprint Muschamp had because he got on the field.
I know you said Mike Bobo's got a pretty good arm for practice, as he would. How's Kirby's arm tossing those balls to defensive backs?
Kirby's a lot better than I thought he was. When I first saw him throwing out there when he's a running back coach here in whatever year that was, 2008, whatever it was, I was impressed. He can throw. I mean, he's not a problem throwing the ball. Some of these guys are a problem, but he's got a pretty good arm.
Speaking of Kirby Smart, we get this question from 21 Dogs. He says, Coach, what do you think is the holdup of Kirby Smart's contract?
Fort Knox. No.
Okay, that was a good one. We can do the show right there.
Go Bullion. No, I just think it's just the announcement. They're just picking the time. I mean, I don't see any holdup. I don't see any issues with. If there were any issues, there'd be some rumors among the alumni that would have said something, or among the coaches and all. I think it's just a case of just releasing it to the public. I mean, he's in good shape on that, as far as I know.
Jimmy Sexton's just got to pick which account it goes to. That's all.
Yeah. There was we were speaking to a young recruit the other day. He said that Kirby Smart was telling him, I'm about to sign a big, long contract. I'm going to be here a long time.
Right.
There's the stability at Georgia. So Kirby's using his contract as a recruiting
he should.
Prize,
he should.
You know? So, yeah.
He should. Good move.
So that was a good one. I like that one. Speaking of other coaches, and this is from Mama Montgomery. So I'm assuming Mama Montgomery. She says, how much longer do you think Nick Saban will be coaching?
You know, I think Nick is just one of these lifetime guys like Joe Pa. I mean, he just loves coaching. His kids are gone, you know. He loves the chase every year, and he's I think he just turned 70. I'd be surprised unless all of a sudden things turn the other way and they're not doing like they have been and competing for the big prize. I could see him going on, you know, indefinitely.
Yeah, I don't see him retiring ever.
I mean, they're going to get, just like we said, people that watch the first of the show, the rich are going to get richer on the talent. I mean, the NIL, the transfer portal, all that. I mean, and you got a roster build up like Alabama's got and we got. I mean, I just don't see him being depleted any.
Coach, do you remember the first time you ever heard of Nick Saban?
Me? Yeah.
When?
He was playing defensive back for the Kent State Cyclones in 1971 when they played the NC State Wolfpack. I was a freshman coach, and Nick was playing in the secondary, and they came in to play in Carter Finley Stadium. That's the first time I saw him on the scouting report, Nick Saban from wherever he was in West Virginia.
Coach knows everybody.
You asked me that one. I got it right. But.
You mentioned NIL, and this question comes from a Dog Stomp. He says, is the NIL laws a case of good intentions gone wrong? This will hurt parity will this help parity instead of helping it, or will it hurt parity instead of helping it, and what can be done? So basically, was the whole NIL thing a situation where they had good intentions, but it all went to hell?
Yeah, I think the intention was to protect the players and give them a chance to make some money on their name, image, and likeness. But they had no idea it was going to proliferate like this and have so many ways to do it. You know, I mean, people were talking about, hey, sell your jersey, sign autographs, all that. Now, all of a sudden, they're getting all these endorsements that are just unreal. And then they're getting these collectives where people are paying money in there to give to the to these collectives so they can get the players more money. So I think it's just as far as parity, you're not going to see parity over NIL. I mean, the big schools are going to have it and the little ones aren't. That's just not going to be any parity. It's going to be the ones that got it and the ones that don't.
There hasn't been much parity anyway, and I think with the transfer portal in particular, that's what's going to hurt parity even more.
Exactly. No question.
Last question comes from Run the Damn Ball. Great handle. I appreciate that. Says, Coach, what is the latest on Brock Vandegrift?
Well, Brock looks good. I mean, he had a great spring. He's really worked hard. He knows the offense. And I think fall camp's going to be really big for him and Beck. I mean, whichever one can, Beck's got the upper hand based on being around, but both of them are going to get a really good shot to be the number 2 quarterback. They're going to get a chance to run with the number 1 some to see how they do. And he's a very talented quarterback with a good lineage there coming from his dad taught him what to do. And what are you doing? Showing us some groceries there?
Yeah, I'm just showing. I don't want y'all to see me eat.
Well, I'm sure you're going to eat a lot because your wife's over in Israel. But
Yes.
we're going to. But Brock Vandegrift, I'm high on him. I'm a lot higher on him now. I was always high on him, but seeing the way he competed all fall as a scout team quarterback showed me what he was built about, because that's tough when you don't have a lot of blocking, you're running other teams' plays, you get knocked around. He showed me a lot. I think he's going to really develop from that.
I'm going to sneak a tennis question in for you, Coach. Can an American man make the final at Wimbledon? It's a really open draw because so many players have been out.
Maybe in mixed doubles. No, I just don't see it. I mean, that some of those guys dropping out, you never know. COVID's hitting over there. But Berrettini's out already.
Berrettini and Cilic both out this morning.
Yeah, that's good for Nadal. They're in his half. It's also good for Cipitas, but I hope we can see a Djokovic Nadal final. That'd be great. But when I was watching a little bit before it started, and Nadal won the first set. I don't know how did he win yet? Or?
It looks like that he won his second set, but dropped the third, and they're just now going to a fourth.
That guy's tough. Anytime you play guys from Argentina, those guys can hit the ball all day. I mean, that's the way they train. They go out there and hit the same ball 950 times, and then they switch balls. I mean, everybody remembers Guillermo Villas growing up. Mm-hmm. He was just so steady. This guy, even though the courts are fast, this guy he's playing's tough.
Felix Auger-Aliassime dropped the second set, and I think he's one of the top 4 favorites right now.
Yeah, he looks like Tarzan and plays like Jane, though. I mean, he plays a lot good warm-up games, but he never can close. I mean, I wouldn't bet on him.
Roddy, your Wimbledon thoughts, Roddy?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch over to the Braves if y'all gonna start talking tennis.
Hey, Coach and I nerd out on tennis now.
I know, but we're gonna talk Braves next time.
Braves are tough. But all right. Well, hey, we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Big shout out to our podcast sponsors, Athens Ford, Europi, Academia, and Dad Soxy. Please visit our sponsors. Let them know that you heard about them on the show, and hit that like button and subscribe button. And we will see you next Tuesday at noon as the Bulldogs take the week off and the coaches get some rest. We'll see you next week.